Hey guys, it's Kaylee. I'm back with another What Sold From Last Week video. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing some of the fastest selling items on eBay as well as some of the largest sales that I had last week. If you're interested in knowing what's selling quickly and for good money on eBay, Poshmark, and Depop, I do these What Sold videos every single week. Consider subscribing. All right, so we're going to start with the fastest selling items that I had. I also, by the way, this week had a ton of consignment sales. So I opened up consignment to a few people who reached out to me from hearing about it on my channel. And I've accepted a few consignees, I think is what they're called. I think I'm the consigner, they're the consignee. And so some of that consignment stuff has rolled in. We've been able to get it listed, scheduled, it's set active, and I'm very happy with how it's going. A lot of stuff is starting to sell. So as we go through, I'll try to point out some of the consignment sales that I had. And we split the earnings 50-50. There's a lot of other rules and things involved, such as waiting past the return period and things like that. But overall, I'm very happy with how that's going. And it's been a really cool additional sourcing stream for me where I'm getting cost of goods for completely free because it's consignment. And I'm still shopping at the bins, thrift stores. We're still getting in donations. We're still doing wholesale. So testing out a lot of different things and really liking how consignment is going. This first one, I think we actually got through wholesale. I paid up for this item. This sold within 0 days. So the exact same day that I got it listed. It is called the Lululemon Women's Down for It All jacket. Lululemon's still one of those brands I'm very picky with, but certainly their outerwear, their sweatshirts, all of that stuff can do really well. When it comes to Lululemon, you definitely want to look up the exact style name and also the size that you have in order to get good, clean data for your comps. This one ended up selling for $97. I believe I had it listed for around 125 and I accepted that offer of 97. My order earnings before cost of goods was $77.60 on this one item. So that was really cool to receive in just one day. My other fastest sale was on Depop. And one thing I love about Depop is their low fees. So as I go through some of these, you'll see just how much I got to keep of that money, which is really cool, which is why I added this additional platform. This one was consignment. This is a Flint and Tender, which is a brand sold on the Huckberry site. Men's shirt. I do really love selling this brand and most of their stuff is very high sell-through rate. So it's definitely one that you want to memorize. This men's shirt I listed for $40 plus shipping on Depop. On all my platforms, I do buyer paid shipping. And this sold the exact same day that we got it listed for an automatic offer that I have Nifty sending out for $34, which somebody accepted, and my earnings were $29.39 on this item. Next up, another consignment piece. This is Laundry by Shelly Segal. When it comes to Y2K pieces, I'll say some, not all, but some pieces can do well in this brand. And it is a brand that I find people seek after. This is a beautiful Laundry by Shelly Segal silk dress, very Y2K, very fairy. And so I included all of those keywords as well as asymmetrical in my title. We had this listed for $49 on Depop and accepted an offer of $39. So super quick sale on that. And my earnings were $36.94 on this piece. The next fastest sale was on Poshmark. These are a pair of Veronica Beard jeans. Veronica Beard is a good designer brand to look for. I don't find that most of their pieces have a very high sell-through rate, meaning they don't usually sell quickly, but some of their pieces really good. And in my opinion, it's worth sitting on to get it to move. I've actually had these jeans returned, so sold and returned already once, and they sold really quickly after getting them listed again in just 2 days of being listed on Poshmark for $45. These were called the Cassandra Corset Buttonfly jeans. Jeans in general, anything that's not skinny jeans seems to be selling pretty well for me. I'm super picky on jeans these days because there's just not many brands that perform well or styles. My earnings out of the $45 was $36 on this pair. Here's another Poshmark sale that was super quick. I found these at a thrift store. These are a pair of Aria Rebar men's M4 relaxed straight jeans or pants because they're gray. I find there's a lot of really high sell-through rate in demand Aria stuff. And even though it doesn't sell for a lot, it does, flip really quickly. So I like buying Aria and in clothing because obviously their boots and stuff do well, but there's a lot of stuff in the clothing that performs well too. So anytime I see it, I always look it up. And these pants had a really good sell-through rate. They sold within just 3 days of an offer for 24, and I made 19.20 off of that order. The next quickest sale was on Depop again. These are a pair of Outdoor Voices pants that I got through wholesale. But I've actually been selling a lot of Outdoor Voices more than we used to, and a lot of this like hiking gear, Gorpcore stuff, really trendy right now. So cargo pants is something that has an elevated value for me. These ones were called the Rec Trek Zip Off pants, and I use keywords such as hiking, cargo, and convertible to get these to move even quicker. I can see all the attention it had from boosting on Depop. This one sold within just 4 days of being listed for an offer of $35. I had them listed at $50, and my order earnings was $29.47. Next fastest sale was on eBay, and this was another consignment piece. This is the brand Gorman, which is a higher end brand. I think it's made in Australia. Yep. This one I was lucky enough to get new with tags. I did learn through consignment. We got sent some interesting brands that I'm just not familiar with that are designer that don't have like the best sell-through rates, but have a lot of value. The stuff that does sell sells well, so I just price competitively, and it's working because we're moving them. But what I learned through this consignment experience with those, niche brands is a lot of times they have their own sizing, especially if they're made in like Australia or Europe. Then you really want to consider that and make sure you know what sizing it is on the tag because it's not always obvious. So for instance, this just says 10, but that's Australian sizing. So I had to do a lot of conversion with a lot of the consignment that I've been getting, and I thought I would mention that to you guys. If you see something is made in Australia, Europe, wherever, really take a look at the sizing because, 10 is a lot different than a 6 US, and you could be getting a lot of returns if you don't pick up on it. So this Gorman dress, this was linen, it was midi length, it was very resort wear, so I included resort in my title and beach. It was called the Sunkissed shirt dress. I listed this for $75, and it sold for my full asking price in just 11 days. I don't know what the order earnings are going to be on this yet because it is Monday and we're about to ship out this item from the weekend. So I'm not sure what the earnings will be on that, but probably close to $50, which is really cool. So newer brand, I'm probably going to keep my eye out for, especially in linen pieces. All right, the next fastest sale was also on eBay. This is also still something that'll be shipped out this morning, so I don't have the full net earnings, but it is an Eddie Bauer women's roll neck style sweater with some Nordic print and it's wool. So this had a lot going for it. This roll neck detail, very, very trendy. And I would have priced this higher if I had listed this 1 or 2 months ago, but since we are moving out of the colder season, I wanted to price competitively to get this to move. So this I had listed at $35. If it was closer to winter, I probably would have listed it for $50. So $35, it sold within just 11 days for my full asking price of that $35. And again, I still have to ship this out, so I'm not sure what the earnings are quite yet on this, but roll neck, definitely a detail that is worth looking into, even in brands like Eddie Bauer. Okay, this was a consignment piece. This is the brand COS, which is a brand made by H&M. It's like their higher end line, and some COS stuff can perform really well. Overall, it doesn't have a high sell-through rate, so you really want to be specific as to what you find. This one was a cashmere sweater, and it was new with tags, so kind of a no-brainer. This one we ended up selling for $40 on Poshmark after 12 days of being listed, and the earnings were $32 on this one. This was another consignment piece, and interesting enough, this is a collaboration with Gorman, which is the brand that I just showed you in that sun-kissed midi linen dress. So this is a collaboration with Megan Grant and Gorman. I was not familiar with either of these two brands until consignment, which is why I really like this avenue of consignment. It's making me learn new brands, learn about some European brands, Australian brands. So it's just been really fun. This dress, really beautiful, drop waist, multicolored, a real statement piece. This was a corduroy dress as well. This sold within just 13 days of being listed on eBay for my full asking price of $65. And my earnings ended up being $47.63. So these were my 10 fastest sales. Those all sold within 1 week or sorry, 2 weeks or less, which is really cool. And a lot of those were consignment. So I don't know, it's just an avenue that I've been testing out and it's been going really well. Let me know if you guys want to hear more about consignment. We're going to move on to some of my highest price sales now and show you some of the things that may not have sold quickly, but sold for a lot of money. This next one being my highest price sale last week. This is a brand that if you can find it in the really old labels, there are some really great high demand, high ASP bolos in. It is Woolrich. This is one of their older tags. I've sold a ton of vintage Woolrich and I get excited every time I see it. I was super excited when I found this because it just had so many great details on it. This one I paid $8.99 for at a thrift store. And yeah, I found it at a thrift store, which is really cool. It took 136 days to sell, which is longer than my 90-day goal. I'm trying to sell everything in 90 days or less, but pieces like this, I am okay with sitting on for longer just because I know it's going to take a really specific vintage buyer who's willing to pay the price I have listed at, that's going to fit them and wants all of these unique features. So this is a vintage 1940s, 1950s Woolrich Mackinac wool 503 hunting jacket in a size 40. Really great piece. And honestly, if you see any vintage jacket with this like hunting structure to it, I would definitely be looking that up. A lot of the outdoor brands like LL Bean, Orvis, Woolrich in the men's department, jackets like these that are really unique, they can sell for lots of money. So this was a really cool one. And the red and black plaid, very traditional for this like style. So it was just really cool. So I listed this high and added best offer. That's something I do when I'm not really sure what something should go for because it is more rare. So I did $200 or best offer. This ended up after 136 days selling for my full asking price of $200, which I was so happy with. I do promote all of my listings on eBay. Sometimes I wish I didn't because this took a big chunk out of my net profit because I did promote this one. And so out of $200, I ended up keeping $138.46. I think the ad fees were around like $33 alone. Had I like really thought about it, I probably wouldn't have promoted this one, but eBay makes it really hard to promote some items, but not promote all of them. And if you choose to do that, it just makes the workflow so much harder. So for me, losing some of the money to make my life easier and just promote all of them is what I have chosen to do. But sales like this do make me a little bit sad, but it's okay because really, really great earnings still on this piece. And I only paid $9 at the thrift store. All right, next up, another one that took longer to sell, but did sell for a high amount. This is the brand Cayley, which is a men's designer brand. If you can find them in suits or suit jackets, blazers, sport coats, they do perform well, but it is one of those things you're going to be waiting for the right buyer. This was a Cayley men's blazer and a size 52 long. This took 83 days to sell and it ended up selling for $108 on eBay. My earnings were $83.50. All right, this was a really fun sale. This actually came out of Joe's vintage t-shirt collection. If you didn't know, my husband he's a recovering hoarder, but he used to collect, or a recovering collector, I guess is what I should say. He used to collect vintage t-shirts, vintage movies, like all of the really cool vintage stuff. And he had some like crazy insane, both for media and clothing, vintage stuff. And so he's slowly been letting go of stuff and giving me his collection to sell. So this is one of those pieces. This is a 2002 true Y2K men's Spider-Man movie promo long sleeve t-shirt. Um, Vintage t-shirts like this, the nostalgic ones, that's another thing. Probably not going to sell in 90 days or less. It just takes the right buyer. So this one actually took 142 days to sell. It ended up selling for $90, which I was really happy with, and my earnings were $68.19. Next up, this is another item that got returned for fit and then relisted. After getting relisted, this one sold in 95 days. And I ended up selling it again for around $71. My earnings were $52.30. This is the brand Roberta. I've come across this brand a couple times. They always have really great style-based piece stuff. This is a really cool corset dress. This is very like witchy, goth, vamp. We even put Elvira in this, and it performs well for me. There's just something about the fit that isn't working. Hopefully the buyer that got it this time really looked at the measurements, but great style-based piece, lots of factor stacking with this one. And please don't come back to me. All right, next up, my next largest sale last week is a We the Free item. This is a line off of Free People, and Free People in general and all their lines. I don't pick up everything in anymore, but I always look for the like substantial shirt jackets. Those have been performing really well for me. I always look up the style, just like Lululemon, look up the style, look up the size, see what the demand actually is. This one was called the oversized Freddie menswear shirt. It's more like a shirt jacket. I was lucky enough to get it new with tags. The retail price is $128. It did have a really good demand on this specific style, the Freddie shirt, and I ended up accepting an offer of $70, which is kind of crazy because usually you can't get more than half of retail for something, but the demand was really high on this one, and comp showed that it did sell for quite a bit, so must be sold out on their site or something. But yeah, one that I'm really happy with. Again, $70 for that one, and my earnings were 56. This one, I don't know. I forgot to write it down. This one sold quickly. Next up, here's another like vintage outdoorsy item that did really well. This is Orvis, a brand I mentioned earlier. Similar to Woolrich, there are some cool vintage pieces that do really well. So this Orvis men's corduroy blazer jacket I listed for $65, and it did sell for my full asking price in just 62 days, so within goal. And my earnings were $46.13. When it comes to this older stuff, if I see anything with elbow patches, I like always look it up. Like period, full stop. I always look it up, and I include elbow patch in my comp search. And so I included all these factors and saw that it had a decent sell-through rate. Like I said, did sell within my goal of 90 days for full asking price, 65 plus shipping. Next up, I gave you guys a few more of the higher price sales today in this category just because there were some brands, some Bolo brands I thought you would want to know about. This one is actually a consignment piece as well. This is the brand SB. They make some really nice kind of login look, artsy style stuff. They're typically oversized, and sometimes they're made in great materials such as linen. So this is a label I would look for. They do extra good in the larger sizes. So this is an SB made in USA 4X linen top. I listed this high just because of all the great factor stacking, and this ended up selling in just 40 days of being listed for $55. The earnings were 44. And again, this was a consignment piece. And then last higher dollar sale before I show you three of the sales that I regret. This is a brand called Vivaya. They are still a pretty high sell-through rate brand. They remind me of Rothy's, where they've got that knit stretch material. They're really easy to overlook if you're not paying attention because they kind of look like, in my opinion, they look like they could be an Amazon brand that's duping Rothy's. So when I first came across them, that's what I thought they were. And then I saw they had a crazy good sell-through rate. So keep your eye out for Vivaya. These were a very specific style called the Margot Mary Jane ballet flats in a smaller size, a size 5'6". Had them listed for $60 on Depop. I have, again, Nifty sending out automatic offers on all my platforms, and someone accepted an offer of $51. My earnings on Depop were $43.60. This was something I found at the bins too. So not a lot of people know about this brand. Definitely keep your eye out for it. And in general, this style, these like ballet flats, especially when they have that like ballet toe, very trendy. And then if you can find them with the Mary Jane strap, they do even better. I'm noticing a lot of brands putting out styles like these and they're performing well. So keep your eye out for this shape of shoe in general. This is what I call a bad sale, things that I regret, things that took really long to sell or they didn't sell for enough, things I wouldn't pick up again. And I like to include a few of them at the end of every video now, and you guys seem to like it as well. So these took forever to sell. They are a pair of Fig scrub pants, which I used to pick up everything Figs. I no longer do that anymore. It has become slightly oversaturated, and so Figs is one of those things you really have to look up the exact style name, the exact color, the exact size to see if there's demand for it. There's still great things in Figs, but unfortunately it changes so quickly that it's just one of those things that you can't really research. You gotta look it up when you pick it up. So these are called the Figs Livingston Scrub Pants. They're in a size medium tall, which is kind of an interesting size, which is why I think they took so long to sell. But this combination of factors just didn't have a good demand anymore. They took 148 days to sell. Had them listed for $25. They sold on an offer to watcher for around $21, and I'll be shipping these out today. So I don't have the full net profit breakdown yet, but I made money on them for sure, but that's $5 I paid for them. That was tied up for half of a year. And so that's what I'm trying to avoid. So Figs is definitely something we're going to be super picky with. Next up, something else I've been super picky with is Lilly Pulitzer. This is another one, exact style, exact size that I've got a comp. I don't just pick up everything in this brand anymore. This is called the Johnny Striped Preppy button-down top. Super cute for like the brand. It's very nautical preppy, but it's just not like the traditional thing that people go nuts for with Lilly Pulitzer. And I think that's why it took so long to sell. It's not the bright multicolor. It's not, a dress. And so it's just very outside of what most buyers are looking for in Lilly Pulitzer. And I think that's why it took so long to sell. Took 147 days, and it did end up selling for my full asking price of $35. But would I pick this up again? Probably not, just because it took so long. And I don't like my cash flow being tied up. And the last one is a Y2K piece. I want to show you more of the Y2K pieces that aren't selling because I do sell a lot of Y2K stuff. I pride myself on knowing a lot about Y2K, but there are certain pieces that either myself or more often than not, people who source for me got that I would just say are on the lower tier of Y2K, and they do sit for a while. And so I'd like to show you some of those pieces as well. But just know there is some Y2K stuff that does sit that I have to move. So this is an Aeropostale, pretty plain Henley shirt. It's got some good things going for it. The reason I think this one didn't sell is because it is Aeropostale. Aeropostale is just not one of the like Y2K mall brands that people are seeking after. And so the fact that this has a spell out of a not highly sought after mall brand is like just really decreasing the value for it. Had a great silhouette. These long Henleys like this do really well. It's tightly fitted. It's a smaller size. Great keywords. But again, it's the spell out of a brand that isn't really highly sought after that I think is really holding down this item. So this Aeropostale Henley took 142 days to sell. I ended up accepting an offer of $14 and my earnings were only $11.05. All right, you guys, so that's it for what sold last week. Hope that you enjoyed watching. If you're not already, consider subscribing down below. If you hit the notification bell, you'll be notified every single time I put out these videos. I am right now focused on what is selling fast and for a lot of money and reporting that out to you guys every single week. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.